Hey guys, it's us again, and you can tell by the video, it's about Tenki no Ko, about Weathering with You, from the creator of Your Name, Kimi no Nawa, Makoto Shinkai. This film breaking box offices records all over the world. How does this one stand out? And at least financially, it's following the same steps, breaking records again in North America. But how is it as a film? That's a harder question, at least for me. And obviously, taste is something that changes from person to person. But even for me, I had to sit on this for about a week since we've had the premiere January 15th, right?
Yeah,
Last Wednesday.
15th, yeah.
Last Wednesday. And even then, I'm still not 100% sure on how I feel about this film, but it's definitely a lot.
I feel like at that point you're not even 100% sure. You can always say what you can and then revise your opinion afterwards. So
Yeah. And so here it is. Here are completely wrong opinions on Weathering with You.
remember, if you're on the internet, you get destroyed. So making sure you got the right sets already.
So how do I approach this film without mentioning Kimi no Nawa or Your Name? I don't think it's really possible. Obviously, these are two different works. You gotta approach them differently. But I gotta say, at the very least, it follows up with the visual splendor that Your Name had. And animation, coloring, and all that. It's there and more with Weathering with You. And I'm really glad for it. But when it comes to some of the problems I have with the plot, and there are some glaring problems that I don't mind small little mistakes or hiccups here or there, but there are some actually problems I have with the movie itself, philosophically speaking, that I don't think I think a lot of people had problems with as well. But not in the same way, but we hit on the same points. And so might as well jump into it. Starting off, the film itself is really nice, just like before. You have all, you know what a Shinkai film looks like and what it feels like, for sure. Nice music, atmosphere.
That's how it is. Pretty much really nice and homey. And I don't know, just progressing through it, you kind of have your, again, another like boy meets girl from the city type of thing going on.
Yeah.
And the development of like, oh, how are they gonna survive and all that. And I don't know if we're gonna mention it or not, but obviously if this is a Tenki no Ko video, it's gonna be spoilers. So, that really late warning. Yeah, like the individual, I have no individual problems with what was going on with them meeting up together and all of that entire development. That was fine to me, but it was just really more of like the consequences of those actions and what that really led to. And if you don't really know what we're talking about, then please at least go watch the movie, and then you'll see at the very end what usually happens. But basically, he chooses the girl, which had the ability to basically, change the weather and all of that. But she was going to be sacrificed because her presence was going to make the world kind of like on whack or something like that, pretty much.
It was pretty much like payment. It was like in the vein of like a chemical reaction. Like it's gotta cost something for you to get that.
Okay.
That's how it's framed, at least.
Okay, well, anyway, so she gets like spirited away, and she he needs to rescue her back, and after that. But basically, at the very end, the consequence of that is he chooses her, and the city gets flooded, which in Tokyo's gone now, or there's like still some parts of Tokyo.
Oh no, it's pretty much gone.
Like yeah, okay,
it's pretty much gone.
It's just and it's just kind of like, oops. I mean, I saved the girl, but rip everyone else,
Yeah, so I might as well hit that out of the bat because that's my number one issue with this film, is that Shinkai, in his own interview, he admits it, that he wanted to hit upon the notes of climate change in this, and so he made the story revolve around that concept that the environment and our effect upon it will have a consequence not only for it, but ourselves, because we are also a part of the environment. But I really do not I'm really frustrated by his conflation of human action becoming individual action.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of that. So it's kind of like, in a certain way, what was that one line that it's like, oh, at the very end, you see that there's this one character that basically goes, well, Tokyo used to be underwater anyways, so things are just going back to normal. Like, that line really kind of grated me. Like,
yeah. Oh, okay, definitely we can hit another line too. I know some people, and we've got an article down below. I actually talked, really great article about the ecological issues dealing with that movie, but a lot of people are calling it climate change denialism, and really that's there are a lot of times in the movie where like it almost hits that point, but for me, I feel like it wasn't climate change denialism. I think it was worse. I think it was resignation. I think it was acceptance of the fact that there are going to be adverse consequences for what had happened, and there's nothing you could really do about it, or they're stuck with what they've done. And really, that's not how climate change happened. It is still happening.
I will put a link about this one thing, interesting fact, but just a quick thing that the top 100 companies they produce 71% of the emissions, so just gonna put that out there. You may think of that fact whatever you want, but yeah, just gonna put that out there.
But definitely, I think in making his story again about the fate of the girl and the world, where Hodaka has to pick one or the other, what it really came down to is, even with the tragedy, I'm not sure if he intended for this ending, but what it came out to was that either the girl has to die for the benefit of the society, or they have to live together in a ruined world with only each other. And really, I have to ask, why not pick the third option? In all this optimism, right? Despite actually the greenness of this film, and I actually like that about this compared to Kimi no Na wa, is actually showing a lot more honest about Tokyo and from Tokyo society at large. But pick the third option, right? Because if there's a girl that can control the power of the weather,
what are we doing here? We've gotten by with a lot less, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Jumping off that point, actually, I think the issue of the ending goes back a little further towards the beginning of the film, with how Hina and Hodaka's relationship actually develops. There are some issues, and I know this is something that I personally saw, but I've read and I understand the viewpoint that Hodaka is being manipulative and controlling of Hina's power.
One thing I have to say, I don't want to draw like a straight comparison per se, but do you think the dynamic, at least in this relationship, compared to at least your name, I don't want to compare it straight up like that, but do you think it was a lot more restrictive than Mitsuha and Taki's per se? Because I mean, yeah, you'd have Mitsuha affect Taki's life, but then they'd do it equally to each other. You know what I mean? They're kind of like both threading and affecting it, so they both have a different control on their sets of lives. Rather than this one, he's like pretty much pressuring her into this kind of like, you could tell he's the very first time she was going to go, she didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think
Hina definitely has a lot less agency. You'd say this kind of.
Oh yeah, no.
I feel like that's something I have a problem. I mean, she's kind of cute and all that, like she designed all that, but I feel like she had a lot less agency. She didn't have much agency throughout the film. It was just pretty much her either following what Hodaka was doing, or you know.
Okay, that's fair, but I think if you're looking from like plain dialogue and scene, it would seem that way. But I think they were trying to help each other out with whatever they could.
Yeah.
Because what happened was that this entire time, Hodaka was just following a script of what he thought was necessary to survive in Tokyo. And again, whether or not you like that, that's fine. But there's actually a line that addresses it in the movie when Natsumi is like, when Hodaka is like, oh, we can make money off of the project. I forgot exactly how he said it, but in what scene? I'm sorry.
So it was like the fish were falling out of the sky, something like that, right?
Yeah, fish. Something about that, and he pretty much says that, oh, there's a way I can make money out of this. There's a way I can monetize this. And Natsumi just quickly quits back and tells him, oh, you're just like the old man Keisuke who saved him on the boat, and is rather, let's say, I want to say ne'er-do-well, but definitely isn't the
society man, that's for sure.
yeah. He's definitely someone who does what it takes to fit in. And so that's the thing. Hodaka himself isn't very sure either. He's trying his best. They're both trying their best.
Yeah.
And they're tripping.
Yeah.
As a consequence, to me, that's how it seems.
If anything, someone's saying that looking it through the lens of pure ecological disaster or something of climate change is really weak way of looking at that film, but rather it's more better to look at it in terms of like asking the questions of what does this mean about social responsibility? What does Shinkai think about one's position in society and how much they should contribute per se?
Yeah.
Or how much they define their roles? Because a lot of that, I feel like that's actually a much stronger way to look at the film. Because many of the actions that are done by the characters are pretty much kind of, it's almost like this is the dice, this is the set they were given. This is them doing their best to try to survive and adapt to it, you know? And I feel like that was kind of like the main point in the film. No one truly felt like an antagonist per se. I mean, a cop. Like, there's another subplot that happens where he gets chased by the cops and all that because I forgot exactly what he did, but
oh well, he was a missing child and then he also, fired a gun. And that gun, we're gonna get back to it, but
yeah, but like. Again, like every single person was trying to do their role, doing their job per se, and no one actually felt like a pure antagonist. And I feel like that's something about most Shinkai films. There's never a true opposing force per se. It's just more like, I guess you could say the weather if you want, but you can really.
I think that's the thing. There is no true antagonist in this film, and if anything, the closest person, the closest character that becomes an antagonist is Keisuke towards the end. And even then, it's all for reasons that are completely understandable and even empathetic for some people in the audience. He has a kid, and he's trying to do his best not to put his ass out and mess this up one more time just to see her. And could you really blame him? That's the thing. Right? It's everyone trying to do their best, but in the process hurting each other and tripping over each other.
Yeah.
That's the mess that I think would the film would have benefited so much more if they explored it, instead of just being one person dying and sending themselves off in order to save everyone else to go their merry way. Because as we know, and as the film shows itself, everyone is not going their merry way before the rain hits.
Yeah.
Or even as the rain's hitting.
Even then too, I feel like that's just too easy of an ending per se. Like I feel like that was just kind of wrapped up in the ending. Cause it's like, even if he just rescued her and then everything was fine, hunky dory afterwards too. I mean, I wouldn't have felt very shocked too. But it was just almost like the entire path leading down to that was very constrained, I would say.
Yeah. Now, about that gun. Oh man, that was one of the things I felt like could have not been in the movie, and really nothing would have changed. I think it would have been better without it, the gun. It was such a contrived point, and you may have, I don't know if you guys see my Twitter, or if you guys know that I have a Twitter, but I made a stupid joke about Shekau's gun and Shinkai's gun. But I really think that holds up, because he throws it in there, throws it in that news report, and lo and behold, there's a Makarov in the goddamn trash can because someone forgot to force buy it around. That's not even you can cut that. That stupid CSGO joke doesn't even make sense. But, why is it there? Because of luck of chance, even though guns are one of the hardest things to get smuggled into Japan and find, and one of the most heavily regulated contraband in Japan.
Like, I was also loaded too, like the chances of
loaded. And it's loaded. And so that's the thing, right? It's obvious that it's supposed to be a symbol and a tool that escalates the sense of danger in this movie. But it wasn't necessary at all. And it ended up making scenes really wacky. Because, for example, right? At the end, when Hodoka finds the gun again after he chucks it,
Yeah.
after he throws it in an abandoned building, same place, by the way. Just, I mean, I guess no one is going up there, but still, it still works after being exposed to the elements for 2 weeks, actually.
This thing's like Mjolnir. It just keeps coming back to his hand.
But he's pointing the gun at the cops, and Kesuke's like, he says the line like, what are you doing? He's just a kid. Yeah, but he has a gun, so I can't really blame them for pointing the gun at him. And that's the thing. Without it, Hodoka's experience, Hodoka's appearance as a vulnerable member of society would have been so much more if he didn't have that gun. It didn't fit with that image that the film was trying to build up. Because he said it himself. Tokyo's pretty scary, and he's right. There's a lot of things in urban life and urban living that screws a lot of people over. And the worst part about it is that they often aren't even seen. And that's definitely something that the film hits on in some parts, and I really liked it when it hit in those parts. But with that gun in there, it's just
yeah. Well, anything on my end? Anything more that you want to say about that didn't really jive with you? For me, at least one thing is I didn't like the fact that this is one scene that I don't like in particular. It was right after he had saved Hina from like a really bad situation.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much angry at him for using that gun that he found.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much like telling him off and all this shit. She's pretty much like the fact like you're absolutely disgusting. And I was like, oh, this is great. Some tension between these characters. They're not automatically linked per se. There has to be some effort. Yeah. But then right afterwards, Shinkai just says like, no, screw that. She just likes him for some reason, or she just automatically like I didn't get that. Like why with that? You know, like automatically she's like, oh, I'm with you now. Right after she just needed a vent or something.
Nah, I think
she still sees him as like not dangerous. He really just shown that he was willing to fire a weapon. You know.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think he was willing exactly to fire a weapon. It's that he panicked. He had something in there, and he thought that this is the only way out. But I think that scene was more meant to show Hina as a completely selfless, compassionate person who doesn't want to see harm done to any person, regardless of what they have done, and regardless of what they've done to her or were planning to do to her. Whether or not that's something you want to see with Hina himself, that's up to you. Fine. But I think that's what the scene was trying to set up. That she is this compassionate, selfless person.
Right.
That doesn't want to see.
It's just for me. It just seems so like automatic. Like this guy is like no work done because I like sometimes the white knight trope. I want that to be kind of destroyed sometimes. Just the fact that like you going in there without a plan or without an actual like real set of actions, like you might actually just make the situation worse per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. I think actually no. I think it actually was. You know, I mean, he got beat up, so. Yeah. But yeah, I think final thing is that one more that was out of place is, of course, it's Shinkai. He's gotta call his characters back, so. Yeah. Taki and Mitsuha are back, yay! But
how was your theater? How did they like it?
Everyone cheered. Everyone cheered when they saw it. My friend Andy, if you're watching this, I know the sound you made. But yeah, it was there.
Nice. Yeah, I'll admit I liked it when I saw them on screen because I was like,
it's fine. No, I'm saying it's not like the scene itself was bad, but take it in the context with the ending of the film.
Yeah,
they're in a city that's underwater now. How? Why?
It's like such a shitty end for them. You know, like they find each other again. The place we're living at is flooded.
So. It even like contradicts. I don't know. Again, you could argue for geography or whatever, but at the end of the film, it was pretty sunny. What I thought, so I felt like it was rather just a piece to appeal to fans, rather than actually trying to find an organic way to work it into the story itself. So.
It just felt like more like, oh yeah, these guys were in love before, so they'll help these two on their journey, Hina and Hodoka.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I'm sure that's what he had in his mind, but
that's what he tried. That's not what came out.
That's what happened. So I would then beating the shit out of this film, and I'm done beating the shit out of this film because I really don't want to. But there are some things that had to be said. And after all that, I still love this film. Don't get me wrong, I still love this film.
For me, it's sitting as in like an alright for me right now. Like it's nothing I don't know if I appreciate what he said. I don't think I appreciate very much what he thinks about what we should do about climate change, which is essentially nothing. He's just like, nah, there's nothing we can do.
So
even more than but just like even more than for the idea of like social responsibility too. So the fact of like, you should at least try to bring yourself up and try to at least improve what you can individually with yourself from there to at least, I don't know, help with society as well. It's almost like I can't certainly ask you to change all society, but you can also certainly just change some parts of yourself. And it's almost like the way it interacts between individual and society. You must have the vision of changing both, you know. Like changing both is possible.
Yeah.
For actual change to occur.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to pick it up, pat the dust off, and buy a McDonald's. So,
Oh yeah.
as I said earlier, when I was talking about the visuals, man, was that a visually appealing, it was a beautiful film all around. The animation, coloring, environment, and just iconography all around. When Shinkai, when
did he reuse some of the cuts? I feel like did he reuse some of the locations?
Oh yeah, of course you have to use the location. When you're trying to explore places like Tokyo, of course you want to explore every single nook and cranny, but there's also places that you'd like to, call back to central locations. But definitely what I thought was his depiction was spot on, at least to the Tokyo that Jeffrey and I saw, or that he and I saw, because we went during the summer. We went to Tokyo, or we went to Japan, Tokyo included, and man, nothing's more fun than realizing your audio stopped recording 8 minutes early. Sorry guys, I just want to apologize for this hiccup that we've had. But now, since it's turned out like this, I'm gonna go ahead and summarize what we did like about this movie after the camera turned off. I want to continue my line of thought about the photorealism that really went into depicting Tokyo. Seeing those darker, dirtier, cramped spaces of the residential areas, finding a way to make the clutter and mess of Tokyo all the more aesthetically pleasing, is something I expected from Shinkai. The constant grays during the majority of the film really hit home the sense of dreariness, making the more lighthearted moments stand out that much more. The texture of the rain, and the rain creatures as well, was really satisfying, especially seeing their weight as they hit the ground. Moving from vast shots of the sky to the more narrow alleyways of Tokyo, this movie had a really good sense of controlling space. I was relieved seeing all this, considering what I had heard about the production of this movie. Now I mentioned him earlier, but Keisuke, the guy that Hodoka is saved by on the boat, and who gives him a place to stay in Tokyo, was actually a surprisingly nice, well-developed character, and when the focus was on him, it really did say a lot about Hodoka. Even though it seemed like the film was trying to set up Hina as his foil, there's a lot more to note when making the comparison between Hodoka and Keisuke. As he moved from a charming stranger to a harsh teacher, then an antagonist, before becoming an empathetic ally in the end, you can see how Keisuke's attempts to conform with society for the sake of his child. There's a pretty good sense that Hodoka could have turned out like this too, if he were to give up. Of course, Hina and Hodoka's relationship is something that's probably different from person to person, but I found it charming. I saw how two equally vulnerable people in a society who has all but forgotten them get together and do what they can to survive. Really endearing. My favorite scene in the movie encapsulates this entire dynamic seen throughout the film. It's when Hodoka first finds Hina's place and he brings along some snacks just so that he's not empty-handed when they meet. She uses the potato chips and instant noodles to mix it with her own stock and improvises a meal, showing off her craftiness expected of an orphan with little resources. As they sit down to enjoy the meal, she asks Hodoka about his time in Tokyo, and as he talks about how he's a runaway, the choking feeling he felt back home, Hina's there, attentively listening, but doesn't ask too much, because she too knows how hard it is to stand on your own. And when Hodoka finally finishes,
and says that at least he can breathe now. And Hina replies with just a genuine, good for you, which really hit home. Last thing I want to hit on is that the comedic timing hit really well in this movie, just like the last. And I really do enjoy Shinkai's sense of humor. Now, as I try to wrap all of my thoughts into this last minute, when I think about it as a story about young people trying their best to enact their will in a world that doesn't even see them alive or dead, it's a great film. But taken as a text on climate change, like Shinkai says, and it becomes a rather muddled trek with a very frustrating ending. Now, where does that put it with me? I still love it. Of course I do. I've always got an eye on this stuff. It's meaningless to ponder on what a movie could have been, because that's not what made it onto the screen. I can only analyze and talk about what's there, no matter how much anyone says about it, director being no exception. And in the end, I still liked it. If you guys made it through the entire video, I don't know what to say other than thank you. And again, sorry for this impromptu edit. But I'm really curious about hearing what you guys thought of this movie. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I'll find a link for buying tickets, so you guys have a chance too. Till the next video.